This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi. It is time to see the Rise of Skywalker in less than an hour and a half. I am one of your hosts, Dan Z, joined by co-creator Cory Clubb.
Hello.
And our CWK newsman, Tom Gross.
Well, hello, everybody. Great to be here.
That's become your signature, hasn't it? Hello, everybody. I like it's that radio background coming through. All right, so full disclosure, I have seen the movie The Rise of Skywalker, and I am not going to spoil any of it. In fact, do either of you even know if I like the movie?
I have no idea.
Exactly. We're going to keep it that way because I want you to enjoy the cinematic experience. Let's talk about the emotions you're both feeling. Cory, we'll start with you. Where are you at? Because I think it's fair to say at the beginning of the year, you were, of course, obviously still a diehard Star Wars fan, but it was a little more lukewarm, and now you're more like lukewarm in a tauntaun.
It is cold outside, yeah. So definitely, I think, we talked about this on the show a couple of times. I think we talked about Mandalorian coming out. This was coming out. But I was more on the Mandalorian side of things. I was excited about Mandalorian. Disney Plus, of course, has come out. We've seen a lot of the episodes up till now. But now it's time to Rise of Skywalker and all that entails. It takes me back to Celebration in Chicago. We all had kind of seen the preview. It was all getting ramped up. It was all keyed up for the fans and everyone at the convention there. We were sitting with Tom on the floor of the convention floor and watching on our phone just as close as we could,
That is definitely a part of my excitement of today.
I want to see it on a big screen now.
There are layers of excitement, and one of them starts with that, sitting on the floor of the convention center.
Yep.
And then, of course, it goes way back 42 years, but I'll go ahead and let you finish.
Well, I was going to say that this is a combination of fandom, of Skywalker fandom, of Star Wars fandom. I think for a lot of fans who had originally seen it in 1977, and those who have been waiting for this saga to come to a bookend. And I think that's a good, correct term for it, a bookend. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see everything come to a close and see what happens.
See what happens, indeed. Yes, this is well-publicized, the final film in the Skywalker saga. It is not the final film in the Star Wars universe, and the mythology will carry on, of course, through the novels, through the books, through Disney+. But we are going to see another Star Wars movie, but it's not going to be for 3 years, which is a long break, but not as long as waiting from Revenge of the Sith in 2005 until 2015 and The Force Awakens. So I think it's okay. But before we jump into that, Tom is ready to share how excited he is. Yes.
Can you tell?
For the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I am so pumped about this movie. Obviously, as most of us are. But it's multiple layers. And when I think about, as I mentioned, where I started with this film, sitting on the convention floor in Chicago when we first saw that trailer and the thousands of people that were there, and the anticipation, the excitement, the reveals in just the trailer that sort of blew us all away. And then I think back to, years and years and years of watching Star Wars and experiencing the Skywalker from the original trilogy and thinking that was it. And then learning about, Anakin Skywalker from the beginning. And in fact, today at work, I wore my Anakin Skywalker pod racing tie, thinking, this is where it all starts. As a young boy on the sand dunes of Tatooine, working, loving to tinker with things, a friendly kid to now. And so I'm excited. I have to admit, I'm a little nervous about the things that we're going to see. And I have expectations, but that's not what I'm not nervous about meeting my expectations. I'm nervous about just what's it going to be.
When the movie started, when I went to the premiere, I had a lot of emotions, and they showed the live stream, and they broadcast that while you're sitting there waiting, because I went to the red carpet, or actually it was a blue carpet, to be honest. And you know why they did that, by the way, why it was blue?
No, they said it on the live stream, but I don't remember.
It's part of the marketing. The Force Awakens was yellow, The Last Jedi was red, and then The Rise of Skywalker's been blue. So that was the thematic way that they did that. So I waited for 45 minutes for the movie to actually start, and I was getting antsy, but not too antsy because I was able to distract myself because I knew I had to.
Sure.
And then when it was time, JJ came out and Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger, and they talked about the making of this film. And Chris Terrio, the co-writer, was there, and Michelle Rejwan, who's the producer on the film. And suddenly it went black. No credits. No trailers. And then before it started, I looked at Deanna and I said, I feel just like I did before Game 7 of the Cubs in the World Series. Because he suddenly get keyed up, and then boom, the scroll happens, and you're dialed in because you're in for quite an experience. That's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you, Forrest. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, also, this is the last time we'll see the big Star Wars fly through the screen and the scroll.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the last time we'll see those iconic elements that have been built into fandom in Star Wars, through the ages. And the fact that, these elements are the last time on the big screen. And that's monumental, I think. Some of the things, too, is this is a big issue for pop culture, for Star Wars in general, for fans of all ages. I mean, We talked about waiting for Revenge of the Sith and the prequels to come out, and now we waited for The Force Awakens to come out. But this is I feel like this is almost bigger. Does that seem like that to you guys?
Interesting. Yes and no. I mean, they said for us, this is the first time we're going to see an opening crawl for a Star Wars film. Because in the other films that are not Skywalker related, you don't see that. And that's a little affecting. I don't want to say too much more about that right now. But I will say, and this is important to note, they asked Kathleen Kennedy on the live stream, how does it feel to be in with the Skywalker saga? And for the first time, she sort of balked and she said, well, I do think there are more Skywalker stories to tell, but for now, this is the end. So, I certainly know. Maybe we'll have sort of a Force Awakens 2.0 eventually. I don't know. We got to get it through this one first.
To that point, if you want to, well, I don't know how to say this. We have a Solo film, right? So I think that was a character from the original trilogy that had his solo film, but so it's not we're not ruling out any future films that could be focused on main characters, if that's what she's alluding to, and I think that's fair. I think she's basically saying anything's game, and I think that's a perfect way to say it because with Star Wars, anything can happen.
Right. And that could also refer to books or other things, but I have a feeling it's film. And who knows what Disney Plus is going to do? Of course, there's a show called The Mandalorian. You may have heard of. Yes, exact
nice.
guy.
Nice.
This is the way.
This is the way.
I have not spoken yet. Actually, I have spoken, but I'm not done. Yeah, when my daughter and I were on our way here, I said, now we've come to all three of the 789 together, and we've come to Solo together. And our tradition is to play the previous movie's soundtrack on the way to the museum.
Oh, I love that.
And so on the way here, when the fanfare began, I said, now you do realize this is the last time that we will hear a new Star Wars movie with this as the lead-in. And she looks at me and she goes, really? I said, yes, this is it. This is it.
That's affecting, yeah.
And she goes, I didn't even think about that. And I got chills up and down my arms just thinking about how we've had the opportunity to share three of the movies together. And this is it. This is number 9, you guys. This is number 9. Something else I was thinking about is, do you remember back, I don't know what, 80s, early 90s? I remember being, it was probably teenager years, so that would be 80s. I remember someone saying to me, or I read it somewhere, I don't even know. Maybe it's just legendary and it's just in my mind. That was, George Lucas meant to make 9 movies.
Oh, boy. I do.
And I remember thinking, yeah, right. How awesome that would be, but yeah, right. You guys, yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that when people said that was a misnomer. That was just sort of like those stories about the babysitter, when there's someone in the house. That's the kind of story, an urban myth, a Star Wars urban myth. And so that's not true. But eventually George did have, of course, plans for 7, 8, and 9, which is part of him selling the franchise to Bob Iger, in which you got to read Bob Iger's autobiography if you haven't. There's one chapter on Lucasfilm that's fantastic. Talks about the struggles George had with selling the franchise, basically turning over the keys. It's something he'd been, nurturing for almost 40 years. that's got to be difficult as a creator who's amassed such an incredible repertoire of storytelling and myth and iconic characters that are on bed sheets and toothpaste and toothbrushes and action figures and coats, and this is just at our houses. So it's crazy. The notion that we're saying goodbye to these characters. I mean, they live on. Obviously, we're still getting new Luke and Han and Leia stories in the comics, which I certainly would prefer that we kind of stop that and let them kind of breathe a little bit. But it's there. Where do you? How about this? Because I'm not going to answer this. What are you hoping? Obviously, we don't. People are listening. What are you hoping to see without speculating too much? What would make you walk out of this theater and say, I feel satisfied at the end of the Skywalker saga with the Rise of Skywalker?
And I think it's fair to say, what are some of the questions you came away with from The Last Jedi and want to see answered in this film? Mm-hmm. And I thought I'm going to kind of put my perspective in there. I remember walking away from, actually out of this theater we're sitting at now, and thinking, wow, that was such a kind of a gut, punch in the gut type film. And I wasn't sure if I was really liked it or not. I wasn't really sure what to expect or what actually happened. You know, I could process. I mean, very processing film. And we're coming away thinking, like, what does happen next? What is Rey in for? She's obviously matured in her Jedi ways. Kylo Ren's obviously been, the crux of everything. He's very, very bad now. He's super bad, and he's kind of made it known that he's going to be this way. And this film, hopefully, would settle that out, right? And I feel like that's one of the biggest mysteries to me is Rey and Kylo Ren's relationship and where that goes.
I'll build off of that because certainly the conflict between Rey and Kylo Ren is in the forefront.
Yeah.
But there are times that I wonder, is that the conflict? And you can't answer this, Dan. So
he's very much a poker face.
The question
now.
I have is it a conflict between Rey and Kylo Ren, or is it a conflict between the light and the dark? And is there a larger conflict there than just the two of them? I mean, obviously it's embodied in them,
sure.
But is there something larger? And so that's one thing that I would definitely, if we get some kind of an answer to that, or just, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not convinced that this movie is going to give answers. I feel like it's going to satisfy us, but it's going to be like, that's it, and kind of leave us in a sense of discontent.
Are you thinking so we've seen the movie Inception, and the fact that Dan's mouthing words over here, and I'm trying to read his lips.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no, at the end of Inception, at the end of that movie, you kind of had this question mark in your head, what was actually real, what was actually not real, but is it left up to the fans to decide and let them come away with, they had a conclusion, but I also had this okay, well, I can guess however I want to take this, or let them decide for themselves.
Right. My first one, or I guess the one that I will go off of, something that I'm looking forward to that I would walk away satisfied is, and I'm going to build off not just the questions from the last movie, but, trailers are designed to tease us. Sure. And so this is, something that I am completely enamored with from the teaser trailers I'm dying to know what the Emperor's role is in all of this. Obviously we heard the cackle in Chicago. We've seen the back of the throne, what we're presuming to be the back of the throne in the next trailer. And so is this a mastermind plan of the Emperor? Does he just kind of return? And I'm also building off of the books of Chuck Wendig. When it come, that's are stirring through my mind. And so I definitely want to know more about that.
I think I deserve an Emmy right now.
I was going to say, your method acting right now is on par.
Yes, thank you. I really want you guys to enjoy this. I'm very much looking forward to seeing it again. And, of course, if you're listening to this and you're local to the area, you will be doing Dinner and a Movie tomorrow night. Dinner starts at 6 o'clock. The movie starts, I think, 7:30. And I'm going to be hosting an event here at the Peoria Riverfront Museum, where we are live right now, talking about the impact of Star Wars on popular culture. It's going to be a great, great time, and there are a few tickets remaining. Not too many, but there are a few tickets left. So if you're considering that and you're in the Central Illinois area, I highly suggest that you check it out. And I'm pretty sure some of our Patreon listeners are going to be here as well, which is really, really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Let me change gears a little bit. We talked about what you're excited about, what would satisfy you. As it stands right now, between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, what is your favorite film of the sequel trilogy?
I'm going to go Force Awakens. Because I have such great memories with that, even still, like, this time, 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
2015.
Okay. So 4 years ago? 2019?
Yeah.
I can do math. It's okay.
Yes, you can. As well as me.
And I just have great fond memories of that because that was building off of an itch to get more Star Wars films in general. Like, that was, to me, that was the pinnacle of, like, we're setting this right in the ship. We are getting back in the groove of releasing Star Wars material. And to me, that's just such a great big bonus for us as fans. But also, it kind of kicked off my kids' fandom as well. It was the biggest release in their childhood that they've had. And they, we always talk about, I think just that experience for me as a dad in that scenario, having, come away with it like that, and I just really enjoy that experience, and it's treasured memories for me that I look back towards.
Sure. I remember your stories, too, about seeing that with your family. And that's great. I mean, that's really what Star Wars is about. It's about family. Of course, it's about hope, but it really focuses on family, your surrogate family, your nuclear family, biological family, and it just has key moments. I certainly remember, and this is extra special to me because not only will my wife and my 3 kids be here, but 2 of my best friends, and then my mom and my brother and my niece and my best friend Scott are all going to be here. I'm celebrating with my entire Star Wars family, and we talked about this on Patreon recently, but it's very special to me that when the first Star Wars started in 1977, I saw it at a drive-in theater in New Orleans, Louisiana, and then we capped this off watching it together here, together. I mean, what a ride it has been celebrating this. I mean, really, we started the show before the Disney acquisition, and since that happened, of course, we have not looked back. Coffee with Kenobi has continued to grow and flourish, and it's been a lot of fun covering it, especially doing live events like this. Speaking of live events, you, Tom, have organized something really powerful that's going to be amazing at Washington Community High School, where you and I work. So please tell us about that, because we'd love for listeners to come and check that out.
Oh, that would be fantastic. We are hosting an event called STEAM into Star Wars. The STEAM is the acronym for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. And then we're also throwing onto the end of that acronym a reading and writing component as well. I just want it to be a full educational, fun event. And so STEAM into Star Wars is a celebration of all of that. And at that celebration, Coffee with Kenobi, of course, will be there. And we are also bringing in a newer podcast. Greg McLaughlin from Rebel Base Card Podcast will be there doing his show live. And then we have several local authors, artists, writers. Cory, you're going to join in on a science fiction writers panel. And so we're having the science fiction writers panel. We're doing an artists panel discussion. One of our artists is going to do a workshop in painting with coffee paint, which is super cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. One of our alum from Washington High School, who is super talented, was on the show last year for this event, Will Crouch. Who now is a student at Augustana, I believe. He is coming back to perform a Star Wars story for us.
Really?
He's putting together a Clone Wars story that he's going to perform all the voices and
sort
the characters.
Sort of like a live radio read?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
It's going to, he is so talented, and I can't wait for that. We're going to have our arts and crafts that we normally have. We have story time where some of our students who are standouts, we've got a couple cross-country state qualifiers that are going to be there, a couple softball players, hopefully some baseball players. We've got principals from some local grade schools that are coming in. The youth services director at our public library is going to come in and do story time with kids. Some local businesses, like our local comic and game shop, Zeke's Comics and Games, will be there on hand demonstrating Star Wars Legion, Star Wars X-Wing, and we have a whole slew of events that morning. And it's for everybody, from the littlest, because we'll have some games like our pin the restraining bolt on the droids, and and our Death Star toss and Sarlacc pit toss and things like that. And it's just going to be a morning to celebrate Star Wars and its connections to education. And I hope if you are in the area, in the central Illinois area, that you are able to come down and visit us and join us. We're going to have Dan Lowe and Megan Cullinan from Fantha Tracks there to talk with fans. And like I said, our local...
Yeah, talk about that, because that's like a writer panel, freelance writer panel.
Yes.
Is Dan Z going to be there?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, cool.
You're going to be a part of that as well. Did I mention that?
No.
Yeah. Well, of course. You are so wrapped up and threaded into this event that sometimes it just slips my mind. But yeah, we're gonna. So one of the panels that we're going to get, I just assume you're going to be there, and so. But we're going to have we're going to have a freelance writing and we're going to also add into that level, because all of you have some tie into a podcast. We're going to do a freelance writing and podcasters panel that you'll be a part of with your experience writing for StarWars.com and IGN, and so it's my hope is that we'll get some area high school students who maybe have an interest in some of these areas, even if it's not Star Wars. Whatever their interest in writing is, or creating and communicating with a larger public. I hope that they're able to come and enjoy that time. And again, like I said, just have a ball. And I forgot to mention another thing. We're going to have prizes galore.
Yes.
My goal always in the past has been to give away as many books as I can to students and to families. And we've given away hundreds of books over the last 4 years at this event. And we have hundreds more to give away, along with a few other things. Zeke's is going to have a package there. This year we have a crafters prize where one of our teachers has hand sewn Star Wars pillowcases, and we're going to have a Star Wars tie blanket. And my daughter's making the Star Wars magnets, and so we'll have a prize package like that. And
I want to tell you, Tom, Deanna and I were talking about this the other day, and she said, if you have a Coffee with Kenobi event somewhere, you got to have Tom plan it. Because you're absolutely nailing this. So what the deal is, and you didn't mention this, is that Star Wars Reads that we've done every October for years.
Yes.
Probably since The Force Awakens, since
Yes.
2015.
Yes.
This year, because of the school calendar, we just couldn't make that happen.
Right.
And so now we're doing it in January, so we're not calling it Star Wars Reads Day, we're calling it...
Steam into Star Wars, correct.
Exactly. So what you've done is you've taken the Star Wars Reads formula, which is great, and you've extrapolated it into something wonderful that encompasses more of the school, both geographically and in the community. I'm excited. I feel I'm actually gearing up for this like I am a celebration. I mean, that's how good of a job I think you've done. Truly.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And I just hope we get people that want to come out and experience this. And it's
Did you say the date? January
11th. Yes, and it's from 9:30 until 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm hoping for great weather. And I want it to be an experience where people are ready to kind of get out of the house. They've spent the holidays indoors. They want to do something different, after a whole holiday season, and make this their event. And
it's
so
gonna be a good one.
So I hope we
And
get
it'll
people
be
to
warm.
turn out. And then one more thing I wanted to mention is we put out on social media today is I want to involve Coffee with Kenobi listeners who may not be able to attend because, you're in California or England or wherever you are. And so send me an email at tomg@coffeewithkenobi.com with your favorite Star Wars quote, what movie, book, comic book that it comes from, the character that says it, and then let me know that I can post your name along with it. And what I'm going to do is we're going to print out lists of this, and we're going to post these quotes with your information all around the event that people can enjoy this. And based on this, I've decided that I'm also going to put up large pieces of paper and let people who attend write down their favorite quotes on this piece of paper. And we're just going to get a huge amount of Star Wars quotes and Star Wars love with this fun event. And so thanks a lot for bringing it up. And
Of course.
I hope you guys are all able to get out and celebrate with us on January 11th.
It's super important, especially in your local community, to perpetuate the love language of Star Wars. And Star Wars at its core is about community. It's about collectibles. It's about experiencing things like these opening nights together with your friends and your family. This Star Wars community is so much fun, and so this is going to be a great time. All right, so we're getting a little bit closer. We're an hour away from the film. I can honestly say I'm actually getting a little antsy.
Are you?
Just because I can't wait to see what you guys think. And this, again, I told you, this is very special to me because while Mason has seen most of the Star Wars films, my little guy, this will be the first time he's seeing a Star Wars film in the theaters for the first time.
Oh.
And we're all going to see it as a family. And then my mom and my brother and my niece are here and my best friend Scott. It's going to be a very, very special night. I'm very excited about it. And you've got your daughter, and you're going to bring your family too.
Wipe away the tears here.
Choked up over here at the Peoria Riverfront Museum in downtown Peoria. When I'm assuming you're going.
We've got
back.
tickets tomorrow with my crew, my guys.
Oh, cool.
8:30 a.m.
Wow. Oh, did you take the day off?
I have the day off tomorrow. I had planned to see it anyway, but I was like, I'll jump on and look at tickets. And I was like, well, how early do you want to go? And I thought, let's just go as early as possible.
That's
let's
smart.
Find out. It's in the IMAX theater, which is really cool.
Over in
Peoria. Yeah.
Yep.
So we're going 8:30 in the morning. Going to wrestle us some Star Wars.
Some Bantha milk.
Some Bantha milk. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I like that.
That's very cool. I love it. So anything else you want to talk about? We're getting close to wrapping up here. We've talked about the excitement, the anticipation for this film. We could certainly talk to some of members of our audience and see what they're most excited about.
Sure.
Is there anybody here that'd like to come down to the microphone and talk about what they're most looking forward to seeing the Rise of Skywalker? I see someone coming down
here
to the show. I'm going to use the Force, and I'm going to predict that your name is Elizabeth Zare. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, Elizabeth, this is, of course, my niece. Thanks for being on Coffee with Kenobi.
Thank you
Of
for
course.
having me.
I am happy to have you. Tell me what you're most excited about for tonight's movie.
Well, of course, I want to see, because it's the last of the series. And I'm very excited because on the commercials, it's so tempting because it's like, I want to know.
What is it that you're most excited about finding out? Is it so? I'm going to guess that you're a big Rey fan, right?
Yep.
Yes. Did your dad tell you that I talked to Rey a couple nights ago?
Yes, he showed me the pictures.
Yes. And so I said to her, "Hey, congratulations, Daisy. That was amazing." She said, "Thank you." And that was it. But that was pretty cool. What would you say if you met Daisy Ridley? Or should I say when you meet Daisy Ridley?
You're awesome.
There you go. I think that's pretty valid. Anything else you want to say? I see a scruffy-looking Nerf herder that wants to come on the show. Should we have your dad come down?
Uh-huh.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth, for being on Coffee with Kenobi.
Thank you for having me.
Come on down, scruffy-looking Nerf herder. This is Sean Zare, my brother. He's been on the show a couple of times before. Sean, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. Welcome back to Coffee with Kenobi. Tell me what you're most excited about to see the Rise of Skywalker here tonight.
I got to be honest with you. I really have no idea what to anticipate tonight. I'm just excited to be here and been watching the trilogy since we were kids, so I'm just wanting to see how it's all going to close out.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of a good place to be, too, because you don't have a lot of expectation. You're just excited to experience this. Because you were with me when we first saw this at a drive-in in Louisiana in 1978 in the summertime.
Yes.
Because we kept trying in 77, but it was always sold out. Now here we are at the end of the Skywalker saga, watching together, which is super, super cool.
It's pretty awesome.
Is there a certain character that you're drawn towards in this new trilogy that you're looking forward to seeing how their story evolves?
I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with Rey. Mm-hmm. Does she end up staying on the good side, on the dark side? I'm not quite sure what she's going to do, but I kind of feel like for my child, for Elizabeth, Rey to her is like Luke was for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think that's one of the cool things this trilogy has done. You're obviously a dad of a young daughter, and Tom has two girls, too, and they have always loved Rey and gravitated towards her, so that is really cool. Hey, we'll talk to you after the show. Thanks for being back on Coffee with Kenobi.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. Can I page Scott Nafziger down to the microphone?
He probably has nothing to say.
He might have nothing to say, but we'll just try to force it out of him.
Force it.
Uh-huh.
Rim shot.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, guys.
Scott, you've been on the show a couple times.
Yeah, I have.
You've been in the studio with me when I've recorded as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
You like that?
Yeah, it's very special.
Good. Indeed. Well, I don't know about intimate, but yeah. It's an intimate setting.
Just space.
Yes,
Come on,
yes,
Cory.
of course. It's a family show.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me what you're most excited about for the Rise of Skywalker.
Just 40 years of just having fun. I mean, I don't really know anything that's going to happen. I've stayed away from knowing anything. I've seen 2 trailers. That's about it.
It's good. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, just enjoy Star Wars for what it is. It's just fun to watch. I mean, a lot of times people get all caught up in the plot and everything else, and sometimes it's just nice to sit back and go, wow,
right,
this is really cool.
There's some, you're not going to believe this, but there's some people who actually talk about this every week.
Really?
On podcasts. Yeah, I know.
And make a big deal of it, right?
They're
Crazy.
I think it's refreshing that you and what Sean said is a thing, because sometimes we take ourselves or this too seriously. It should be fun. Well, yes. I mean, if you look on social media, which is good that you're not.
No.
I think it should be
I follow
first
you, though,
and foremost
and Cory.
fun.
Yes.
And entertaining
Yes.
and inspiring, and I think
Yes.
that's why Star Wars keeps us coming back to the theaters
Yes.
for more.
I am sad, though, because I know that this line of movies, it might be broken into pieces and stuff, but
Yeah.
this will be the end. And since I've known you, it's
Yeah.
always been an important part of what we talk about and stuff.
That's
and
right.
now I'm going to walk in and I'll be like, when it's done, did you
know.
feel that way when it was done?
Oh.
Did you say, is this it? Is this all over?
I don't want to answer that.
No, I didn't mean good, bad, or anything.
No.
I'm just saying, is this the end?
I will tell you this. When it was over, I felt, like Ray says at the end of The Last Jedi, I felt peace and purpose.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
Okay, you're ready for the next whatever brings Star Wars? Or are you
I
ready?
don't know what I'm ready for is just
Sleep?
well, that would be good. No, I'm ready just to enjoy this with you guys, to
Yeah.
talk about it for months to come,
Yeah.
to write about it,
Yeah.
to see what people think.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of excitement in it, and it's
Yes.
it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
So I love that's very very well said.
I think there's a lot of things that probably need to be buttoned up here, isn't there? There's a lot of work they had to put into 2.5 hours.
Sure,
so.
I can't remember, but I mean that was just a couple days ago, so I'm not sure. But yeah, there's a lot that needs to be resolved. We've got what's going on. The Resistance, when we last saw it, unless you've been reading the books, was just on the Falcon. That was pretty much the Resistance.
yeah.
That's pretty small.
Yeah.
Kylo Ren had just been defeated by Luke Skywalker mentally, and has taken over as the Supreme Leader.
Yeah.
And Rey raised some rocks, and she saved her friends.
Yeah.
While Luke sacrificed himself. That's where we're at.
And I would love to see Luke again, but I don't know. Can he be like Obi-Wan? I don't know. I'd love to see.
Difficult to see the future.
I know you're very
Yeah.
good at this. I
Thank
love
you.
how you just have
Thank
no
you.
idea what's going
I
on
have
by looking
no
at
idea.
your face.
I barely remember my name.
Who am I?
I wouldn't even know what the podcast was if you didn't have that nice mic flag there. Hey, thanks,
All
Scott.
right,
Thanks
yes,
for being back
yes.
on. So there's a special lady in the house.
Yeah.
My mom, who might want to.
Yes, she
come on
does.
the
She's
show.
shaking her head. Yes. I can.
Yeah.
I can
No
extend
one
my
can,
mic over
no
there.
one can see you. Yeah. It'll
I'll
be
hold
fun.
it. You can talk. Here, you can sit.
I knew you would love this.
Sit here.
So I think it's fair to say that I'm the most outgoing in our family. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair to say.
That's fair to say. So because of this lady right here, I have Star Wars, right? You've done so much. And you brought us, we went to the theater 3, 4, 5 times, and it was always sold out. I remember visibly standing, like, looking at arcade machines and stuff, and it was always sold out and being very disappointed. And we weren't allowed to see PG movies. But you talked to Raquel, our cousin, and she said, it's okay, there's not a lot of blood, so it's okay for us to see, right? And then one day, in a fateful day, we went to a drive-in theater. I actually looked up the name of the theater. It was in Metairie. We saw it in the summer of 1978 for the first time. Do you remember that day at all? Because I certainly do. I don't blame you if you did. I mean, now that I have kids, I understand. Hey, good, we got them distracted.
I can honestly say I can honestly say I don't remember.
Right.
I remember taking you, but that's about all I remember. The thing I do remember is Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
I sat outside in the heat, waiting in line in Louisiana with an umbrella over my head, waiting with you, and then a friend brought Sean and his friend.
Matt Sanji.
Yes, and we watched that movie. It was so hot. I think we waited for 3 hours outside in the sun.
In many ways, this is your fault. This has happened. It's true. Yeah. The enabling is good. Jeff McGee can relate to that. So I remember that really well because every time a new character would come, I think that's why I fell in love with the cinematic experience, because more than Star Wars and the Empire Strikes Back, when Return of the Jedi, when we saw it in the theater, every time a new character would come out, when Jabba was introduced, when they first showed Luke, when Han Solo was rescued from being carbonite, everyone clapped and cheered. I love that. I'm hoping we'll see that tonight because I think that adds so much to this movie-going experience.
Just so we can hear it.
Oh, don't worry. I will be happy to say, shh, everyone, let's hear this. What do you remember about me growing up in Star Wars? Have I always liked Star Wars?
You have always liked Star Wars. Always, always. And we would travel many places so we could find Star Wars toys because we have bought Star Wars toys from the very beginning.
That's right. I remember going up to Chicago to like this big flea market when Phantom Menace came out, looking for the 12-inch Darth Maul figure. You remember that?
That was the Kane County Fairgrounds.
That's right. That's way up north.
It is way up north.
Yes.
It is.
And seeing the movies multiple times. I remember one time we saw The Empire Strikes Back on a re-release. When it was over, I said, "Can we see it again?" You said, "Sure." So we went back in the theater and watched it 2 times in a row. What a good mom. Seriously, I appreciate so much how you've helped encourage me through the years. And, I mean, look what's happened. And it's all thanks for that.
Well, I enjoyed every single minute of doing it with you, and I like seeing the looks on your face when you're there, you see it, you enjoy every bit of it.
I do.
And to think that a childhood hobby became such a passion that you're doing it in with even your teaching to your students. It's a wonderful thing to be a proud mom.
Well, thank you again for encouraging me to be me. What did you think? I'll let you go because I know you're going to go get your seat for the movie. What did you think when I sent you that picture of Harrison Ford?
Oh.
Right? That's how I feel, too.
Woo!
Yes. I still need to tell you that story. I'll have to tell you about that off mic. But, Mom, thanks again for being on Coffee with Kenobi and for encouraging me to do this.
Thank you for being Dan.
Well said. Hey, it's my mom, everybody.
Is that the first time she's been on?
It is the first
Wow.
time she's been. You were a natural. See where I get it from? Yeah. I love it. All right, so we're wrapping down. We got to go in. Look, one of the things about that helps to kind of
get the
calm the nerves is to just get in there, sit down, get your popcorn, do some push-ups. We can have a push-up contest again like we did at Celebration. Guys,
we do that?
excuse me. Any last-minute thoughts before we turn off the microphone?
Boy, I'm excited to see what's going to happen and how they're going to set in motion the next saga. I mean, they're going to. I would assume that this is, like you said, this is not the end. This is a bookend, and how it's going to play out into the future of Star Wars. I'm excited to see these characters wrap their the storylines and see them come to some mounting conclusion. I think that it's exciting to see this. I mean, because we're setting on a brand new direction in Lucasfilm and Disney, and couldn't be more excited.
I am really excited for, and what is the word? Like I'm comfortable with. This is it.
Yeah.
This is the last time, as you said, that we'll see these characters on the big screen. One other aspect that I'm really looking forward to. This is the last time John Williams' music will play behind the film.
Behind the Skywalker film.
Yeah, and I am so pumped for to hear that score, to hear that music motivate me as a viewer and wrap me up in the action, the adventure, the love, the whatever it is that's going to be up there on that screen. So I think the thing right now I'm getting goosebumps about is after the crawl, that opening where who knows what's going to be there. Is it going to be a Star Destroyer flying over our head? Is it going to be a massive battle above a planet? What's it going to be? Come on, Danzy. Come on.
We're only minutes
He's
away.
not cracking. So let's find our seats.
It's time, everybody. Go ahead and get your seats. The Rise of Skywalker starts in 45 minutes. We will be back after the break, and we will have seen the show. We will give you our immediate spoiler-free thoughts. Thanks, everybody, here at the Peoria Riverfront Museum. Again, if you're in the local area, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, I'm hosting dinner and a movie where we will have an amazing dinner, a catered dinner. I'll be lecturing on the impact of Star Wars on popular culture, and then, of course, the Rise of Skywalker. Thanks again, everybody. We'll talk to you after the movie.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Rise of the Resistance is now open at Walt Disney World and will be open very, very soon at Disneyland. So you need to be sure and book some experiences to the East and West Coast so you can experience Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge, and Rise of the Resistance. And I can think of no better way to do that than through MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Their signature service and expert advice will help clients maximize their vacation time and dollar. Their no-cost, no-obligation quote when you use the service is really wonderful, and they also proactively adjust the booking if the rate goes down. They will help your family enjoy everything Galaxy's Edge and the Disney theme parks and the cruise lines have to offer, help plan every detail, and will share invaluable tips. Be sure to go to our affiliate link, which can be found in the show notes on the front of our webpage or on our social media, and sign up for a free, no-obligation quote. You'll have the best vacation possible and help out Coffee with Kenobi in the process, so be sure to tell them that Dan Z and Coffee with Kenobi sent you. So much of what happens at Coffee with Kenobi is possible because of our wonderful Coffee with Kenobi Patreon contributors. I'd like to thank Jason Hall, Dennis Keithley, Lane Hickerson, Adam Bankhurst, David Nicely, Jeff Ellis, Colby Mead, Ross Halliban, Frank Mulder, Alexander Moylan, Aaron Harris, Chris Kavarka, Angela Sauce, Tyler Pompa, Hannah, Yancey Evans, Alex Procasio, Tim Van Swall, Ian Thompson, Simbot Defterdarian, Christine Turk, Sean Reed, Kurt McKellen, Dan Ream, Brian Harding, Blake Weaver, Jim Capron, Caroline Maselli, Chris Metz, LJ Souter, Thea Selby, Daz Davies, Christian Dale, Brian McKinney, Jared Cantor, BJ Smith, Eric Struthers, Nick Deco, and Mark Suter. Thanks to all of you, Coffee with Kenobi is able to grow and flourish in ways we never would have thought possible, and you get something out of it as well. For $5 or more a month, you get access to CWK Pour Over, which is our exclusive weekly podcast not heard anywhere else, hosted by myself, Tom Gross, and Cory Clubb, where we talk about Star Wars. We go behind the scenes of what goes on into covering events and producing Coffee with Kenobi and popular culture. We review movies, all kinds of fun stuff, and we have a great time bringing it to you. And for $10 or more a month, you get access to CWK Lens, which gives you a ton of video and photos behind the scenes of what's going on. When I was on Rise of the Resistance, I posted a lot of pictures and images that only you got to see. I didn't put on Instagram or Twitter or anywhere else, only for CWK Patreon contributors. If you have any questions or want to find out more about how to support Coffee with Kenobi, be sure to go to www.patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi and sign up today. Thank you so much. All right. We have all seen The Rise of Skywalker. This is going to be a spoiler-free discussion. We're not going to talk about plot stuff. We're not going to talk about big reveals, and there are plenty. We're not going to talk about character arcs. We're going to talk about how we feel. Cory, how do you feel?
Exhausted.
Tell me why.
In a good way. It's again. I remember walking out of The Last Jedi feeling this way as well. The kind of there's so much to process, but this round, it's a good process. I mean, there's a lot to think about, a lot to take in. But I couldn't stop smiling. Goosebumps. I kind of want to nudge you and go dude, oh my gosh, wow. I kept looking over at Tom. Tom was back and forth, up and down, back and forth, up and down. He was just laser focused, and it was so cool to see that too. I'm excited to go see it with my kids and see their reactions too. Like you said, it's there's a lot to this movie that is going to permeate, I think, through the Star Wars saga and this film. I mean, it's just going to be something we're going to be talking about for a long time.
So you liked it?
I did like it. I will say I liked it better than Last Jedi.
Okay, I'm glad.
I did.
I'm glad. I thought you would.
I have other thoughts, but I'll keep those for another show.
We might be talking about this a few more times.
I'm sure.
Tom, you've seen The Rise of Skywalker. I will say, before you answer, multiple times when I knew there were moments, I turned around and you both did this. That's really good for podcasting. What I did was you both had your mouths agape.
Yes.
For good reason. What do you think?
Yes.
How do you feel?
Okay, well, I really, when the credits came up, your friend Scott sitting next to me after a couple minutes said, "Tommy, all right?" And it's left me, quite frankly, it's left me speechless. I feel exhausted like you do, Cory, but it's a different kind of exhaustion than I felt after The Last Jedi. After The Last Jedi, I felt a little beat up. This one, it's left me with so many thoughts. There's a lot to process in this film. There's a part of me that wonders if it's because it's been told that it's the last one. And so there's so much to think about in this, but I loved it. If you're going to ask me, how do I rank this movie? I'm going to say it's the last one in a saga.
That's a good answer. Now I've seen it twice, and I feel just about the same as I did when I saw it the first time. The first time I saw it, and I know you both haven't read my review yet, and I wouldn't have either. The first 45 minutes, wasn't sure where I was with it. It took a while for me to get my footing. I was not thrilled with some of the characters and their decisions. And then we start getting some reveals, and we start learning some things, and I was hooked. The last hour and 10 minutes, I think, is a thrilling, fast-paced adrenaline rush that doesn't let up, and I think it's great. I love the movie, too. I'll say something to you guys I haven't said. I've been wanting to tell you. Of the 3 new movies of the Skywalker saga, 7, 8, 9, this is my least favorite. Still.
Least favorite?
Least favorite.
Wow.
And that, by the way, isn't bad. It's great. I love it. I love how I feel. I love that my family was here. I love the emotions I had. I got choked up multiple times. And I'm going to ask you guys a little bit which part got you the most choked up. Before we dive too deeply, because we don't want to spoil anything, it's hard to do. Let's get these young these Coffee with Kenobi younglings over here and see what they thought. All right, we have Kaylee Gross, we have Elizabeth Zare, and we have Mason Zare, and we want to see what they think. So, Kaylee has, of course, seen probably 5 movies, Star Wars movies in the theater. But Mason and Elizabeth, it's your first ones. So, Mason, I'm going to let you go first. Tell us what you thought about the movie.
It was great.
What did you like about it?
Every part.
Every part.
That's a good thing.
That's a good part. So, how does it feel to see a Star Wars movie in a theater for the first time?
Cool.
Can you tell everybody what you did when the Star Wars sign came up and showed on the screen? Can you tell us what you did? He was happy. I will tell you, he was very happy. Very good. Elizabeth, what did you think of The Rise of Skywalker?
I thought it was very, very cool.
Tell us why.
I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it every part like Mason.
Yeah? And seeing a Star Wars movie in the theater was...
It was very thrilling.
Very thrilling. I agree. You both. Whenever there were certain moments, besides looking at Cory and Tom, I would look at you two, and you were both going with your eyes wide open and your mouths open. And you were both very excited, which I'm glad. Star Wars is supposed to be exciting in the theater. So what about you, Coffee with Kenobi veteran? What did you think of the movie?
I really liked it. I'm still trying to process some of it, and I'm kind of confused about the end.
Okay.
But I'm still thinking through it.
Fair enough. Well, when we're not recording, I'll explain the end to you. I promise. Okay.
Yeah, explain it to me, too.
It'll make more sense. I will.
I have thoughts and questions.
I will. Sean, you want to say anything about the movie? You said some
overall thoughts.
Overall, I mean, we're not ruining anything, and we're not saying about the plot specifically, but just your overall thoughts.
My overall thoughts were I thought the movie was fantastic. I have a lot of questions, but I would say of all the movies in the trilogy, I would say this one rivals Empire Strikes Back.
Which, when you told us that before we recorded, I was so happy. Yeah. Tell me why.
Just everything that they did with the movie, just from the good and the bad, everything was so powerful, and it made me feel, it was just really amazing. I really just loved it.
I'm so glad. Guys, talk a little bit more about just your raw emotions from this thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, too. We talked about it. There's a lot going on in this film. And like we mentioned beforehand, this is the last of the Skywalker saga.
Yes.
Number 9, they're going to be wrapping things up. They're going to be telling us a lot of answers. They're going to be telling us a lot of history. I'm trying to spoil things. Right. But I think for the general sense, to me, previously from what I was coming in with, I feel like my questions got answered. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I was just about to say, before in the first half of the show, I gave what I wanted, and I will just say I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with the ending. It addressed everything that I was expecting it to.
Yeah.
I can't say whether it addressed it the way I would have liked to it or not.
Sure.
But I can definitely tell you that it definitely brought it all out.
And I think that's one thing I've talked about this week with some of my friends that are Star Wars fans, and they're saying, "Oh, how come they didn't do this? Or how come they do that?" With this new Skywalker, these new stories. And I said, well, I mean, they got a lot riding on their shoulders. They're going to write things that are going to hopefully keep everyone excited and engaged. And a lot of people would complain about this and say, well, that's not how I expected it to happen. Well, of course.
It's already happening.
It's already happening. It's
Believe me, it happened at the premiere.
To me, it's the way the writers had written it, and basically they're writing a story to hopefully, get people talking and finish out a saga. And if you're given that task, I think you'd have a hard time doing it too.
Oh, absolutely. That is not an easy thing to do. First of all, and
you both did feel satisfied.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, please, 2 mics at once. I felt satisfied, but I longed for more.
I'm going to help you out a little bit. Yeah.
Please help.
I think when you consider Return of the Jedi ending the first trilogy, Revenge of the Sith ending the second trilogy, and The Rise of Skywalker ending the third trilogy, I think if pressed, I'd say this is the least satisfying resolution, but it's a satisfying resolution. I mean, the mountaintop experience is Return of the Jedi. Luke being redeemed by Vader, being reunited with his friends. You've got freedom. Revenge of the Sith, the darkest movie of the entire 9-episode series. Very satisfying, very powerful, very heavy. This one is satisfying. It's invigorating. The last 2 minutes can't be beat. Oh, wonderful! Yeah. Absolutely wonderful. I think it just feels a little like I don't want to spoil anything. But so that's kind of where I am with that. I don't know. Of course, I'm going to plug my review, but I'm curious to see what you think when you read that as well.
Yeah, I'm curious to go back and read a review now that we've seen it and take it in, and because I do want to know more. I have questions. I want to go back and see what people have to say, because I'm still putting pieces together. I think I feel like I don't. When you make a puzzle, you expect it, the final picture to look like it's on the box. I feel like it looks like what's on the box, but maybe it was a struggle to find all those pieces and get them fit right. If that makes sense.
Yes. One of my favorite things to be able to do is have my daughter look at me and say, I'm not sure I get it.
Yeah.
And for me to say, you know what? I'm with you, kid.
Yeah.
Because there's like we've said throughout, it's a lot to process, because there's so many. I don't want to say there's so many things wrapped up, because I'm not convinced that there's a bow on top of this package.
And I was thinking that too. Okay, so I think that, and that's what I'm hinting at, is the fact that those last 2 minutes. Let's talk that last 2 minutes. I felt like it's closed but also open. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
It makes perfect sense, and that, I think, is how you need to wrap this thing up, to leave it open. I mean, remember when I said before that Kathleen Kennedy said we think there's more Skywalker stories to tell?
Yep.
There are. And there's a lot of important stuff about family here that has been my favorite theme in Star Wars besides hope. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to get to our Patreon show so we can explain it more deeply. And so here's the deal. We can talk a little bit more, but ultimately what's going to happen is we're going to do this. The three of us are going to record a Patreon show where we give some spoiler-free instant thoughts. But then in a couple of days, we're going to record an epic, giant The Rise of Skywalker review like we did before, with hosts from our family of podcasts.
Yes.
Matt Moore, Jeff McGee, Randy Theriot, they're all, Aaron Harris, Dave Motters, they're all going to join us, and we're all going to talk about this in great, great detail. So that's when we can really get it out there. So again, I know I don't want to disappoint everybody, but we're not going to lay it all on the line right now. But we can. A couple of quick things, though.
Yeah.
There are a number of surprises. I love pretty much all of them.
All the surprises? Yeah.
And there's a couple that are wonderful. Again, the ending is, I think, really spot on and lovely. And, I mean, I can't wait for more, but I feel at peace. Someone asked me, how did you feel when it was over? And I said, I'm going to quote Rey from The End of The Last Jedi, I felt peace and I felt purpose. I think it had a direction. I think it met it. and I'm going to say this without going into too much detail. At the premiere, a lot of people are saying this is a big slap in the face to The Last Jedi. It undoes The Last Jedi. I didn't think so then, and I'm more convinced now that it emphasizes The Last Jedi and gives it polish and explains things more. I mean, that was the middle of the book. This is the end, and it's great. I feel at peace with it, and I think the main reason I feel at peace with it is I just feel like we're going to come back. I don't know when. It'll probably be a while. I can wait. It's worth the wait.
I have that same feeling, Dan. I kind of left thinking they could pick this up. If they wanted to, they could pick this up. And I think fans will have seen the movie will know what that means. And I think that's an interesting way to look at it. I mean, it's a close to the Skywalker saga, I think. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I feel like I'm conflicted, but yeah, I need to see it again.
Well, and I'll go back to the analogy of the bow on top. I think I would be disappointed if there was one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's why I feel like I'm pretty satisfied with this. Because
I think it was a simple bow. It wasn't an extravagant Return of the Jedi bow.
Right? Yes, and there was and I feel like there was a moment where that could have happened. And so yeah, I'm satisfied, and you know what? I really feel like. Do you feel like you really need to see this again? I feel like
you do.
I have to.
Yeah.
Absolutely have to see it again.
Rules.
It's the rules.
Besides being the rules, even if it weren't the rules, I would be there.
You need to. It helped me make a little bit of peace with things.
Yeah,
I mean, I just felt like I knew I liked. It always takes me a while after I see a first Star Wars movie. We're all the same way because we're so passionate. We're so into this. I liked it right away, and it stuck with me, but in different ways. After seeing it again, I'm like, yep, okay, this is good. This is okay. Because now that we know it's coming, it's easier to ingest it and kind of put it in your Star Wars categories. Do you know what I mean? And so the way you're feeling is the way I felt. It's very much the way I felt. And it's not bad. And I don't, even though people are challenged and conflicted, I don't feel like it's the same confliction as earlier films. And I could be wrong. I've already heard a lot of the criticisms because I knew what to look for, and I look forward to talking about that with you guys. So any last thoughts before we wrap this up?
Oh, I had one and now it's gone now.
Maybe we don't have a bow on top of this one yet either.
Maybe not. Yeah, right. Okay, that's what I thought of it. I'm excited for a break.
That's fair.
Because I don't know if I could take another Star Wars film next year, in a year and a half, or I feel like I'm ready for a break. Take a little break, and we can digest Mandalorian. We can digest Cassian Andor series.
Yep.
And have some fun and relax for a little bit.
That's right. Well, we're gonna stop it there so that everybody can process this. It's gonna take some time, and that's great. That's the fun of this. The conversation will certainly continue here on Coffee with Kenobi. Tom, Cory.
Yes.
We did it, man.
Yeah, we made it.
We did it. Yeah. So much more to come.
Finish the marathon.
That's right. Well, let us know what you think. Again, we're going to be back on Patreon. We'll give more immediate thoughts of the spoiler variety. And then in a couple of days, we're going to record our massive show to close out the year, celebrating this saga, talking about this with your favorite co-hosts. Tom, let everybody know where they can reach out to you, please.
Sure. You can send me an email with your deep thoughts about the Rise of Skywalker, Tom G at coffeewithkenobi.com, or catch me on Twitter at DraftLine.
Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter at Cory Clubb, or feel free to send me an email as well. I will not share it with Tom. Well, no, I'll share it with Tom for sure. But with your deep thoughts about your Rise of Skywalker, almost said Rise of Resistance, Rise of Skywalker thoughts, and email me, Cory C at coffeewithkenobi.com.
And me, Mr. Zer, at Mr. Zer, MRZEHR on Twitter, and email danz at coffeewithkenobi.com. It's a lot to process. Breathe it in. Enjoy it. This is a lot of fun, and there's so much more to come. We'll be back very, very soon. This is the podcast you're looking for.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are the podcast you're looking for. This is...
As we close out the show, I want to thank our CWK sponsors. MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, and One Nation Coffee. Please support them the way they support our podcasts. And remember to listen to new and archive shows of Coffee with Kenobi wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, Stitcher, YouTube, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, CastBox, Deezer, and our website, www.coffeewithkenobi.com, or wherever you enjoy listening to your favorite shows. And if you listen to the show through iTunes, please leave us a review. You can also find us on social media. In fact, please follow us on Twitter and Instagram, give us a like on Facebook, and check us out on Pinterest. Be sure to listen to our CWK family of shows too, including Legends Library, Resistance Reactions, Comics with Kenobi, and Lattes with Leia. Please leave a review for each of their shows as well, and be sure to subscribe to each of them individually on their own respective feeds. In addition to the places I just mentioned for Coffee with Kenobi, you can find me twice a month on the podcast Looking at Lucasfilm, part of the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, as well as on Twitter at Mr. Zer, MRZEHR, and you can find my writing on CWK's website, as well as StarWars.com and IGN. Don't forget to check out www.patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi to support our podcast and help us keep the lights on in the studios. Our Patreon page is where you can listen to our exclusive weekly podcast, CWK Pour Over, hosted by me, CWK newsman Tom Gross, and Coffee with Kenobi co-founder Cory Clubb for just $5 a month. There are also opportunities for behind-the-scenes videos, photos, t-shirts, and more. Plus, 10% of your monthly contributions go directly to St. Jude Children's Hospital each month. Thank you to all of you currently supporting us on Patreon, and thank you for considering becoming a member of our Coffee with Kenobi Patreon family.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along. Move along.